Pininfarina is definitely one of my favorite design houses there's ever been. I do prefer Pininfarina over Ital Design. Ital Design, it still has very cool designs, do some weird styling at some points. Pininfarina has always had this classic, beautiful, elegant style to it. And they're responsible for one of my favorite Ferraris of all time that is truly a piece of art on wheels. That is a 458 Italia, of course. And now we have a collaboration between Pininfarina and YAS Motorsport called Tensei. And what this right here is exactly my style of redesigns, reviving an old legend. So we have a brand new Honda or Acura NSX. They can't call it that, of course, for legal reasons, but it's clearly a redesigned, revived NSX for the 21st century, and it looks absolutely stunning. Unfortunately, we don't have any pictures of the interior here, but to me, I've said this so many times before, if car companies were to do this, if BMW were to bring back a modernized E30 3 Series with modern features, modern styling, but clearly still an E30, just like we have here, if Mercedes were to bring back the W140 S-Class in a new way, it would sell like crazy. I don't understand why more car companies don't do this. Renault is doing it a little bit with the new 5 and in France over there, but that's pretty much it. So let's have a look at this, and I'm going to show you the comparison between the old one from a front. I mean, look at this new one. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful design. And the rear, of course, side. We don't have the interior. The last generation of the NSX, for me, it was never a special vehicle at all. I don't know what it is about it. It is, to me, the latest generation of the NSX has absolutely zero excitement to it. I'm not sure why exactly. It just feels like a regular sports coupe to me. There's nothing special about it, and that is why I love the first generation of the NSX, of course. Before I jump into Photoshop here, though, let's have a look at this Car Scoops article and what we know so far. So it hasn't been fully unveiled yet. It will be unveiled next year in full, but we have some information here. I think the most important thing, we can see what it looks like. So Pininfarina brings back the original NSX in a way Honda never would. Their loss. The NSX reboot from Pininfarina and YAS Motorsport called Tensei reimagines Honda's iconic supercar for the 21st century. It's got a new carbon fiber body but retains pop-up headlights, which is illegal to put in new cars. But since this is a special edition, they probably got some sort of exclusion there for that reason. So 6-speed manual car will be available first half of 2026. So it has a manual transmission as well. I mean, what a dream car this is. So Tensei, which fittingly translates to rebirth in Japanese. That's the name of this car. The two companies confirmed that the new supercar was revealed privately to a select group of customers at Fuji Speedway in November, which leads us to believe they have already been accepting orders. Now, we don't have the price for this, but I assume that it is extremely expensive, which it should be. This is a car that it's extremely special, and it's in a category of its own, these type of cars. We rarely see a modernized version being executed this well in the final shape. It's just perfect to me. So here we have the front view, the side view, the rear end, and look at these LEDs that we have inside and how smooth everything is. It's like you can clearly tell that this is the original 1991, I do believe, NSX in a modern version because of the production methods that's used in this. It's just a stunning design. So in 1984, Honda and Pininfarina teamed up to create the HPX, a mid-engine sports car that would later evolve into the groundbreaking NSX. You still have the black canopy remains, as do the pop-up headlights, hoop, rear spoiler, and basic rear light signature as well. The more you look, though, the more changes you spot. And all these small details just add up to a massive change in this car. The bodywork, for example, all new, and fashioned from carbon fiber, is more muscular and features vents behind the swollen front fenders, similar to what we have on the Ferrari F40. You can see the vents right here. It's a wide body kit that's integrated beautifully in the car. From a side view, you can't really notice because it's so clean, this integration, but it's definitely wider, and we have a much smoother integration of the side view here, or the side intake compared to the original. The rear quarter panel intake is bigger, and there's a vent in the front hood like the one on the mighty first generation NSX-R, which I do believe only came in white. The original NSX had a narrow track in the rear and weirdly long rear overhangs. I don't really think so. I think from a side view it looked pretty decent. It looked like the contemporary supercars of the time with this longer rear end, similar to XJ220. For example, the Jaguar had a similar very long rear end. It's just part of the time. So this new interpretation, Car Scoops at least say it looks much better. I kind of agree. It looks better because it looks more modern. So we haven't seen the inside yet. But that's probably going to be unveiled next year. It will have a tuned versions of Honda's V6, and you can be sure that it'll make more than the original 270 horsepower. I would want to see this maybe 450 horsepower, maybe top out at 500 horsepower. We really don't need more than that. Depends on how heavy it's going to be. It's not going to be a hybrid, so I think 450 horsepower for a car like this, a lightweight sports car, that's more than enough. So 6-speed manual transmission and be available in both left and right-hand drive. Though how many cars will be built or how much it will cost is unknown. So if they're going to build both right-hand and left-hand drive, they're probably going to build a few of these at least, maybe hopefully up to 50, 100, I'm not entirely sure. Next year is going to be a doozy for NSX lovers because Pininfarina's rival, as we talked about, Italdesign, earlier this month, they started teasing its own reimagined NSX. So we have both Pininfarina and Italdesign coming out with new interpretations of the NSX. However, I highly doubt that the Italdesign design is going to look better than this, because to me, this is just pure automotive perfection when it comes to design. So let's jump into Photoshop here, and let me show you why I think this is such a great revival of the NSX, because all the original features are still here, but all the small details that we have in the original, for example, this vent down here in the lower section is still intact in the new one, but in a modernized way. But the key thing here is not to remove anything from this, just modernize every single little feature. You can see the LEDs here, for example, being 3 LEDs in the lower section here, pop-up headlights still intact, and even these lines that look very 90s on the, or even 80s on the hood, are still intact in the new version down here, but everything is sort of, they put this smooth effect on top of the entire vehicle. You can see the cut lines as well, very substantial in the 90s and 80s. Of course, they got a lot tighter for modern era with new manufacturing methods. And we have this beautiful lip spoiler in the lower section, some wings here in the lower section front end, opening in the center portion. And it still has a pretty industrial looking look to it. And that is exactly what I want. I don't want this to look like the last generation NSX, which doesn't have anything to do with the predecessor. This is what I wished the last generation of the NSX would actually look like, even though we probably could not have the pop-up headlights here. But as you know, the later generations of this generation NSX got headlights that were integrated in the fenders themselves, like we have on the NSX-R, for example. And of course, we do have the greenhouse. Also, it doesn't look like they squished the greenhouse too much. It actually looks to be almost the exact same height as we had in the original, which is very, very unusual, because what car companies do today, they like to squish the greenhouse down to make it feel more sporty, and I like that Pininfarina did not do that here. You can see from a side view that it has almost the same height as the original here. If we draw out the shoulder line right here, the greenhouse height, how far up it goes compared to the body, and the ratio between the body and the greenhouse, looks to be almost identical to what we have in this new one, which is great to see. It gives it this retro feel, But there is no way you can look at this and think that this is an 80s or 90s car because of all the graphic features and the surface treatment. And I love that we have an intake or outlet right here behind the front wheel. The wheels themselves look gorgeous. I would never switch these wheels out. And we have the black canopy as well for the greenhouse still intact, something that was typical for the NSX, something that I want to see in the new one as well. And we have the intake, as we talked about, in the hood, similar to what we had on the NSX R. The side mirrors look way more modern than the old ones for sure, but this area right here, this is what I bring your attention to. Even though the original had very nice and clean structured intake in the side right here. This is something, if you're gonna modernize a car like this, you cannot remove that intake. It needs to be in the exact same position. It needs to have a very similar shape because it's such a key graphic for this design. You can see what Pininfarina did here. They created this nice upswing for the lower section of this intake, creating some more dynamic vibe to it. And we have radiuses going all over. We have a bit of an angle going back, radius up top, and then we have this line just fading softly into this area of the bodywork instead of having a sharp line that we have in the original, which again feels way more 80s and 90s. Definitely modernize it in the right way. We even have the fuel cap in the exact same position, and look at how smoothly this wing goes into the rear end. What a stunning, beautiful design this is. Now, last but not least, let's have a look at the rear end, and I'm not going to say that this is my favorite view for this, because to me, the entire 360 view for this is actually, everything is my favorite view for this. I just wanted to mention quickly, they talked about the overhang in the rear end in the article. You can see the overhang here, and I honestly don't think that it looks weird to have a big overhang like this for this type of vehicle. It is a mid-engine vehicle, so you need to have some more space behind the seats. And maybe it looks strange if you stare at it for too long, but I kind of agree that the new one has a little bit better proportions in the rear. And the graphics in the rear end. I mean, look at the modernizations of the exhaust pipes. We still have them in the same position, but they are modernized now with the shape being a little bit more triangular like this, looking extremely cool in my opinion. It's very subtle diffuser, no crazy wings or bump going up all the way to this area, something like this. Very, very subtle design. And what I love about this design is you see the original has this line right here going in and creating a proper bumper right here in this area. And you have the wing up top, of course, with the hollowed out portion right here, exhaust pipes in the lower section. And what they did with the new one, they took the exact same styling, although made it smoother and nicer transitions. Now we have two chamfers. We have one chamfer in the lower section right here, going in this area, creating a beautiful lower chamfer. And then we have the framing for the key graphics up top, which is this chamfer up top. And in between these two chamfers, we have a properly designed bumper, looking absolutely stunning in my opinion. It says YOS here instead of Honda. Of course, for legal reason, they can't use the Honda nameplate, which I think Honda should be proud if they did. For this vehicle, we have some winglets down here, carbon fiber, everything, of course. The bodywork is full carbon fiber as well. And this rear view, it just looks absolutely sick to me. I love the graphics here as well. Light bar, of course, because we sort of had a light bar in the original ones, even though the reverse lights sit right there in the middle. And these are probably the indicator lights, LEDs right here as well. So, as I said, I don't know how much this is going to cost. And honestly, I don't really care. All I want to see is car manufacturers bringing back old legendary designs just like this, and you would see a boom, an explosion of sales when it comes to nostalgic designs just like this for very specific models. Exactly what Pininfarina has done here with this new NSX.